Hello, I'm Yen Sally Rahayu, a postdoctoral fellow at Research Center of Ecology, BRIN. Today I'll talk about how traditional food plants, from spices to greens, contribute to diet and well-being. I'll show examples from Indonesia to highlight their nutritional and cultural significance. Traditional food plants are rooted in local traditions and often overlooked in mainstream agriculture. They include wild, semi-wild, and cultivated species. They provide fruits, tubers, leaves, and spices for local communities. Globally, there are around 27,000 edible plant species, yet our food system relies heavily on a few staples, disregarding alternatives that can be considered traditional, such as sorghum, millets, cassava, and yam. Traditional food plants often contain higher level of micronutrients than crop, making them important in remote and resource-poor areas. This plant can diversify diet and help address micronutrient deficiencies. But despite this potential, traditional food plants remain underutilized, under-researched, and overlooked in policies. So, strengthening their role can contribute to transforming our food system. These slides highlight specific nutrient contributions of some of documented plants in our research. For example, leaves of Moringa oleifera or a spice, Piper retrofractum, or known locally as cabe Jawa, provide protein. And then Centella asiatica and Solanum torfum are rich in iron. And species like Genera and Sonchus arfensis contribute fiber and calcium. Some of these plants are not only source of one but multiple nutrients such as Tabejawa, which not only source of protein but also calcium, or Crassosepalum crepiroides, locally known as syndrome, is source of fiber, calcium, iron, and vitamin C. Compared with mainstream or commonly marketed vegetable, many of traditional food plants provide equal or even higher nutrient values. For example, here, among fiber source, genera and Ipomia batatas or sweet potato leaves have higher fiber than cabbage and kale. In protein here, we have moringa, which has higher protein than tempeh or peanuts. In calcium, Pilea melastomoides, known locally as popohan, has more calcium than spinach. And eryngium has more vitamin C than orange. So this demonstrates how traditional food plants can contribute to improving diet and nutrition security if included more in diet. Evidence from various countries shows that traditional food plants contribute significantly to nutrient intake. For example, in Tanzania and the Philippines, they supplied up to 45% of calcium intake. In Vietnam, wild vegetables contributed nearly half of total vegetable intake. Although their calorie contribution is low, they add dietary diversity and provide key vitamins and minerals. This also confirms their role in supporting sustainable and nutritious food system. The key question, how does this plant consumption impact well-being? Rural or local communities rely on local biodiversity, but it's declining, and at the same time they also face malnutrition And there is limited research on how the consumptions of local food resources relates to well-being. So we're trying to fill that gap by exploring how traditional food plants contribute to subjective well-being in different socio-ecological settings in Indonesia. We studied three regions with distinct contexts: Aceh, West Java, and West Nusa Tenggara. Each region has distinct socio-ecological contexts, shaping how traditional food plants are used. Forests in Aceh, urban and rural fringe areas in West Java, and dryland settings in West Nusa Tenggara. These three sites show how traditional food plant use adapts to different landscapes and livelihood strategies. In total, we recorded 121 species, and these are just a few examples. We can see here that each region maintains unique species that reflect its local ecology and local test preferences. At the same time, there is considerable overlap across these three regions, and what stands out is that half of this overlap is spices, such as chili, turmeric, ginger, and coconut. Given that Indonesian cuisine is spice-rich, it is no surprise that these earth plants form the culinary foundations across the islands. Our survey of 335 households revealed regional contrasts. West Java had the lowest traditional food plant consumptions, which may be linked to urbanizations and market reliance. On the contrary, West Nusa Tenggara had the highest consumptions, with self-provisioning supporting dietary diversity. So these possible explanations for their high use uh, based on other primary data that is not shown here. We found that people in West Nusa Tenggara grow their own traditional food plants more than people in other two regions. I'll move on to Aceh. So here, the respondents show moderate consumptions. The persistent use in Aceh is likely attributed to forest proximity that may support foraging and sharing of these plants. Other than contrast, we also found commonality across all sites. About half to two-thirds of respondents consume traditional food plants, at least moderately. This coming from the combinations of respondent with moderate and high consumption of each region. So in West Java, the combine of moderate and high consumption is around 50%, while in West Nusa Tenggara and Aceh, the combined moderate and high consumption reached to 65 to 71%. So these show that traditional food plants remain embedded in everyday diet and are essentials not only for food and nutrition security, but also cultural identity. Now we move to the central question. Does the consumption of traditional food plants actually improve well-being? To answer this, we conducted a quantitative assessment in the three regions using health-related quality of life indicators. These sections will show how the consumption is linked to different aspects of well-being and how these associations vary by context. Before revealing the result, let me provide an overview of the indicators. To assess well-being, we use the health-related quality of life framework. This framework goes beyond medical assessments and focuses on how people themselves evaluate their health and daily life. So it's a self-rated evaluations. It covers four physical domains: physical functioning to assess mobility, role of physical, assessing daily activities, bodily pain, uh, pretty explanatory, and general health to assess overall health status. And it also measures four mental domains: vitality, measuring energy level, and social functionings, evaluate health impact on social activities, role of emotions, assessing emotional health effect on daily roles, and mental health to evaluate mood and anxiety status. So you can think of it this way. It's not just about whether someone is diagnosed as healthy or sick, but about how healthy they feel in their daily life, both physically and mentally. This table summarizes the analytical process behind the results. We first looked at bivariate associations between traditional food plant consumptions and different domains of well-being. Many of these associations appear significant, but once we run multivariate models, some associations weaken while others remain robust. These confounding factors, like socio-demographic, like age, BMI, having chronic illness, family size, educations, as well as livelihood factors like home gardening, having livestock, and having access to agricultural land. So this step was crucial because it allowed us to separate the specific contributions of traditional food plants from the influence of other socio-demographic and livelihood conditions. So while the table confirmed that these plants do have an effect, the domains that remain significant vary by regions. I'll show you these differences in a simpler way in the next slides. Traditional food plant consumption is indeed linked with better perceived well-being, but the affected domain differ by region. In West Java, it was associated with social functioning that may be shaped by food culture and market access. In West Nusa Tenggara, the consumptions were linked to both general and mental health. What's interesting is that households here had the lowest expenditure yet showed the strongest well-being benefit. In West Nusa Tenggara, traditional food plant consumptions affect both physical and mental health. And this may be because their reliance on their own production, which not only diversifies diets, but also gives a sense of self-reliance. In Aceh, consumption was linked with general health, but the results were more complex. The benefit weakens once we consider factors like age and nutrition status. As we saw in the previous slide, age and BMI, body mass index, which is a proxy for nutrition status, were also strong predictors of general health. Still, here in Aceh, the consumptions can play an important role in improving diets. Our data show that undernutrition is more common in Aceh than in other two regions. So efforts should focus on younger families and women as they are most at risk of undernutrition. Overall, these findings confirm that while traditional food plants consistently contribute to well-being, the specific dimensions they affect are highly context-dependent. So policy and programs aiming to improve nutrition and holistic health should recognize the value of traditional food plants and tailor their supports to local socio-ecological conditions. Thank you very much.